Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. So it has been a minute, as always. I say that every time I start a YouTube video. Like, it's been a minute since I was on here. I love you guys. I miss you guys so much. I have just been busy, and that is no excuse. I should be making more videos for you guys and saying hello to all of you more often because I love you. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you so much for subscribing. I hope some of the stuff that you've watched of mine previously has been super helpful for you, especially if you are somebody who is either a LuLaRoe retailer or is thinking about becoming a LuLaRoe retailer. I'm hoping that some of the stuff that you've seen of mine before has been helpful in that decision-making process or just to get you started, get the ball rolling for you. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some exciting stuff. So it is coming up on my 1-year mark since I officially became a LuLaRoe retailer. So that means that as of June 1st, maybe it's like 2 days before June. How do I not know this date? But it was somewhere around June 1st that I became an official retailer. Like, I got my inventory, I started selling, did my first live sale. I want to say it was like right before June 1st, but I could be wrong on that. So we are not that far away. Like, we're just a couple weeks away from that mark, and it's seriously mind-blowing. I still cannot believe that I've been doing this for a year. I can honestly say without a doubt in my mind, my husband actually asks me this all the time, and it's a really sweet question that he asks me. We have this kind of like ongoing thing. Even when I have really hard days, when I'm stressed out, when I've been working a lot of hours or whatever it is, on those days especially, but even on the really great days too, he asks me, do you still love what you do? And every time he asks me that, my answer is immediately yes. I totally love what I do. And we exchange this cute little grin, and it's super cute. It's adorable. He's pretty fantastic. So it's cool because like, I just have been thinking about the fact that coming up on my 1-year mark, asking myself, you know, like, do I love what I do? Is this something that I've enjoyed for the past year? Of course, there's been ups and downs. Of course, there's been moments where I feel like I literally don't understand why I decided to start my own business, because like in some moments, there's like hard minutes. Like, there are hard moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Why did I decide to do this? I would so much rather go work for somebody else. And here's why I have those moments. And I call them moments for a reason. We'll talk about that. Here's why I have those moments. Because listen, not even gonna lie to you guys, it is a lot easier on a day-to-day basis. It's easier to work for somebody else. It really is. Not even gonna sugarcoat that. Like, to go in somewhere to a company that somebody else owns, and all of the success of that company is not riding on your shoulders, right? Like, at the end of the day, sure, you have deadlines to meet, maybe sometimes you have like customers to please and you want to make sure that you put a good foot forward. But at the end of the day, whether the entire company succeeds or fails, whether that business continues going or doesn't continue going, really has very little to do with you, right? So like, going in, working for somebody else, it's not that scary unless you have a really bad boss, and that's another good reason why I prefer to work for myself. But it's really not that scary. And so like, going into work every day, even if you have a stressful job, like at the end of the day, there's not this looming feeling of like, this depends on me, right? But so those are the moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, everything I'm doing contributes to the success or failure of my business. And those are big moments, heavy, big moments. And so I've been thinking about that a lot lately because like, I mean, I've thought about it this whole past year, but especially lately, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm coming up on this 1-year mark. And that's a really big deal. Like, that's a huge deal. And in the best kind of way, that's a huge deal. Like, I can officially say that I am a business owner who has successfully run her business for the past year and has also learned and grown and like figured out so much and has become a different person than I was a year ago. Like, a year ago, if you handed me the toughest day that I've had over this past year, if you handed that to me a year ago, I would have literally crumbled to the floor and said, no, thank you, take it back, I don't want it. And now, I feel like I have this confidence that I did not have a year ago. And this thought process goes through my head of like, okay, there are challenges, but I am ready to meet those challenges. Like, bring it on, world. Like, it could be a really bad day. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie to myself and say, oh, that was a piece of cake. But if I get through that day, I can honestly tell myself, like, girl, you did it. Like, you killed today. You slayed and made this day your fill in whatever you want to fill in right there. And that is the most empowering feeling. Like, I can honestly say, if you have been following my YouTube channel, very early on, I made this video of kind of like my why. Like, why did I decide to do LuLaRoe? And at the time when I made that video, I wasn't even started yet. Like, I was in the queue waiting for my call to officially become a consultant at the time. We are retailers now, which is super cool. But I was waiting for that phone call, and I just had this drive, this passion of like why I wanted to do this business, but I hadn't even started yet. So I made this why video, and parts of that why video, if you haven't seen it, it's really long. It's like an hour and a half long. So if you have seen it, thanks for watching it. It's really long. But part of that video talks about like this fear of success and like fear of man, and like how, and fear of man being like, why, like I've always struggled with this idea that like I need to please everybody else, and fear of being a failure at anything. Like, I'm a perfectionist to the fullest, and I always want people to be super impressed by me and super proud of me. And so I've set these really high, like almost unreachable standards for myself in everything I've done my entire life. And then starting this business a year ago, I had this idea in my head, like, this is what it's going to look like. So when I start on day one, here's what my business is going to look like. Here's how my sales are going to go. Here's how everything's going to go, right? I had this perfect picture in my head of what it was going to look like. And my determined, like, perfectionism self was like, there's no deviation from this path. Like, this is what it's going to look like. And then this crazy thing happened where life came into play, and like, I somehow didn't have a magic ball to determine what my year was going to look like. And everything went totally different than I expected. So I started out saying I wasn't going to build a team, that I just wanted to buy and sell these amazing clothes and make women feel fabulous and beautiful. And that part has actually worked out pretty well. Not to mention, I wanted to feel fabulous and beautiful all the time, and I totally do. Like, come on, guys, really? Look at this. Look at this cute little Carly dress I'm wearing with a cute little Joy belt and everything. I mean, this was not me a year ago at all. Even my hair, you guys, I went and got my hair cut today. She did a really great job, but even my hair, you guys, like, hair, makeup, the whole shebang, like, LuLaRoe has brought so much confidence to me, and I've been able to like pass that along to so many women, and that is the best feeling. So that part went just like I planned. But I started out saying I wasn't going to build a team, and of course that changed. Pretty much immediately that changed, and I started building a team. I started connecting with women who wanted to join my team, and that was incredible. And that was such a curveball because I was not anticipating having women like asking me to sponsor them and helping them get their businesses off the ground. That's been an amazing, incredible curveball that has just changed my perspective on so many things. But in one regard, it's given me so much confidence in who I am as a person, and what I bring to the table in terms of like how I can effectively like impact someone else's life. It's mind-blowing. Like, I don't even know. There are no words for how amazing that's been. I also had this idea in my head in the beginning that like I was going to have like very specific sales, right? So I was watching other people, and I was like, I didn't know. Okay, so first of all, I didn't know fashion in general. I didn't know the fashion industry at all. I didn't understand seasons and you know, retail seasons and fashion seasons, and I didn't understand any of that stuff. So I had this in my head where I was looking at other people in the season that we were in while I was waiting to become a retailer, and I said, oh look, this person's doing that, and I can totally copy that, and that's the result that I'm going to get. It's going to be exactly the same thing, right? And then I became a retailer, and that didn't go at all like I planned. And here's what's awesome about that is that as I've grown and changed and like experienced my business over the past year, here's what I can tell you. So a lot of people do ask me this, like, okay, so do you feel like you have found success with LuLaRoe? Do you feel like it's become more than just its own thing where like you're just pouring more into it to get the same thing out of it that you're pouring back into it, you know, and so you're not really seeing progress? Or do you feel like you've seen progress and you've seen growth and your business is like flourishing and successful? And the answer to that question is absolutely. Like, More than absolutely. Like, I had this idea in my head of what it was going to look like in the beginning, and it did not look like that at all. And what I learned from that was my expectation was that I was going to receive all this amazing inventory of clothing, which is amazing, right? And I was going to get all this stuff, and then I was going to my initial thought was like, I was going to go online on Facebook and on Periscope and use all these online platforms. And I was just going to be like, hey, strangers, look at all this fun stuff. Don't you want to buy it? And that everyone's going to buy all the things from me. Like, that was the picture in my head. I think I worded it a little differently because that sounds a little cocky. But like, if I'm being honest, that was what was going through my head, was like, everyone was going to want to buy all the things from me, even if they didn't know who I was. Like, nobody cares. They just want to buy all the clothes because the clothes are amazing, and they really, really are. But then I started, and sometimes it went that way. Like, sometimes I would do a live sale and be like, hey, strangers, here's all my fun clothes. Don't you want to buy them? Look at all that fun stuff. Isn't it awesome? And everyone was like, yes, I want to buy it. Please buy it. Let me buy all the things. Take all my money, right? And that was awesome. And then other times I would do the exact same thing, right? Like the exact same thing. And I would be like, hey guys, look at all these cool clothes I have. Isn't it amazing? Don't you want to buy all the things? And it would be like this. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Like crickets, quiet crickets. And I might have like somebody on there saying like, oh yeah, that's really cute. And then I would like spend an hour trying to like convince people that this stuff was like totally needing to be in their closet, and nobody would buy anything. And so in those moments, it was totally defeating, right? Like, of course it is. Of course that's defeating. But then what I didn't do is I didn't come out of those moments. I didn't come out of those experiences thinking to myself, like, I'm such a failure. I did not come out of those experiences thinking that. Instead, I came out, of course, those thoughts were in the back of my head. Like, yeah, definitely. Why does this hair keep wanting to go on my face? Keeps wanting to do that. So I came out, and like sometimes from those moments, from those sales that maybe didn't go like I planned, I would have those moments where I was like, oh man, that was a total fail. But then my next thought was like, okay, so one, I would think I did the exact same thing that I did last time, and last time it worked really well, but this time it didn't work so well. So I would start to think like, okay, so that tells me a couple of things, right? Like, what can I learn from this? Like, one, that tells me that I can't depend on one thing to work every time. It's just not going to happen. The same thing is not going to work every time the same way, right? So sure, I can keep doing this one thing, and sometimes it'll work really well and sometimes it won't, but I can't depend on this, because if this one thing doesn't work perfectly all the time, then I'm kind of in trouble, and I don't really want to be in that spot, right? So I was like, okay, so that means I have to broaden my horizons and think outside of the box, and I have to start creating. So something that LuLaRoe always tells us, like our home office tells us all the time, is like, be a creator. You need to create experiences for people. You need to create business for yourself. You need to create an atmosphere that people want to be a part of, that people are drawn to, right? An experience, create an experience for them. So I started really thinking about that, like, what does that look like? And over this past year, my brain has expanded so much when it comes to creative thinking. I am not the most creative thinker in the world. Like, my brain is one of those that's like, tell me what to do. I might put my own little spin on it, but not that much. If it's working for you, it'll work for me, and that's what I'll do, right? And that wasn't always the case. So with my business, I really had to start thinking like, okay, what's gonna work for real and what's not gonna work, you know? And the things that are working sometimes aren't going to always work. So what can I plug in there and kind of like add into the mix that's going to create more business for me and get me in front of more people? Because my clothes are amazing. It's not the clothes that are the issue, obviously, because they're awesome. I mean, how cute is this Carly? Look at this cute Carly. This is an oversized Carly. This is a 3X Carly, and I have it paired with a size small Joy, and then I just belted the whole thing, and it's like adorable. So the clothes are not the issue, obviously. Like, how could you not want these amazing clothes? But I started asking myself, like, okay, so if the clothes are not the issue, I need to get these clothes in front of more people. Like, I need to help people see how amazing these clothes can make them feel, right? And so I really started stretching my thought processes and thinking about how I could do that and trying different things. And some things would totally fall on their faces and not produce any results. And then other things were like, boom, like big eye openers, like, yes, this is working so well. And it's just completely changed my perspective. This whole past year has completely changed my perspective on what it takes to run your own business and what it looks like to be in business for yourself and to be a one-woman operation. And, you know, sometimes that means like staying up till 2 a.m. and like sending out invoices and packaging a bunch of stuff and making sure it gets labels on it so you can ship it out the next day. Or sometimes that means answering a lot of messages or emails from people that are not always the most pleasant emails to respond to. And then other times it means responding to people's messages that are like the most amazing messages, like those moments where you hear from shoppers of yours that are like, this changed my life. And that sounds crazy, but it's not crazy, women. We know, like, an outfit can literally change your life. And so getting those messages are like the best thing ever. But not gonna lie, it's not always that way. Like, there have been days where I'm just like pulling my hair out, asking myself, what have I gotten myself into? And in those moments, those are the moments where I think a lot of character building has happened for me over the past year. Like, I've really started to dig into myself and start to chip away at those areas of myself, like my own personality, that have held me back for so many years, held me back from becoming the successful businesswoman that I always kind of knew that I wanted to be. And that is the coolest feeling, you guys. Like, I'm telling you, if you are someone that has that drive where you're like, I know that I'm capable of doing more than what I'm doing in my life right now. If that's you, I can't encourage you enough to find that thing that you can really dig into and make it your own, because there's something so special about creating something for yourself and looking at it and saying, that thing is mine. Like, what is happening right here? Like, what's happening in my business right now is mine. Yes, I'm part of LuLaRoe. Yes, I'm an independent retailer with LuLaRoe, but independent is a key word there, because although I work with this amazing company who is just incredible and encourages us to be creators and be independent and like find solutions. Yes, I work with this amazing company, but I'm my own brand as well. Like, I am LuLaRoe Jen Heron, and that's something amazing. I didn't always feel like it was, but I really do believe that now. And it's not to toot my own horn, but just to say that, like, I've put blood, sweat, and tears into this brand of mine that has now become this recognizable brand. Like, I have customers across the entire country that recognize me as a brand, and they shop with me. They can shop LuLaRoe from anyone, but they choose to shop with me because I've created these experiences and these relationships with my customers and this atmosphere, both locally and nationally, like across the country. I've created something that people want to be a part of. That feeling is indescribable, literally indescribable. So as I'm kind of thinking about this past year and what that's looked like, and then I'm looking towards the future, and something my husband always asks me, which I love, on a regular basis, he asks me, do you still love what you do? And immediately my answer always is the same. And it's like, yes, absolutely. I love so much what I do. And I love that he asked me that, because it's like a grounding question, I feel like. I feel like when he asked me that question, it's like that instant reminder, yes, I love what I do. I love it. And so looking at this past year and then looking at the future and what does that look like for me, it's really exciting, because I feel like I'm at this precipice. I used that word. Yes. That was not even planned, you guys. Yes, that feels real good. I'm at this precipice of like coming out of this really big learning experience, and not everything has gone as planned this past year, but so much of it has been even beyond my expectations. And then other parts of it have been like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Okay, good to know. I need to rearrange things a little bit in this area. And so I'm coming out of this like big like growth year, and then I'm heading into an unknown, right? Like my second year, an unknown year. I don't know what's coming, but I do know this. I know that I thought I had a grip on this business before I even started. I looked at it and I said, yep, I can do that. I have an idea in my head of what that's supposed to look like, and I can execute that, and I can make it like happen, right? Now, a year in, it's like the opposite effect happened. Like now I feel like I have so much more to learn. And what I love about that is I can look at the past year and say to myself, holy cow, I literally knew nothing about how to run this business when I started. Nothing aside from I need racks and hangers and I need to start a Periscope channel. Besides that, I really knew nothing about how to run my business. And so I've learned so much, and more than anything, what I've learned is that I know so little. And so even though I started out knowing nothing and having such a skewed perception of what this would look like, I still saw so much success in this past year. Like, you guys, I am paying myself more than I've ever made in any other job that I've had. Right now, I'm paying myself more than anything I've ever made. So I am my own boss, and I am choosing to pay myself because I choose what to pay myself. So I'm choosing to pay myself more every month than what I've ever made in the past on a monthly basis. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. And I get to go to the gym in the middle of the day and get my hair. I got my hair cut today. Did I already say that? I get to get my hair cut in the middle of the day if I want to. I get to plan a day with my hubby and just spend the whole day. Like this past Friday, we spent the whole day just hanging out together. Like, I have the freedom and flexibility to do that, and still I'm able to pay myself more than any boss has ever paid me in the past. That in itself is amazing. And that's with me having a little too limited knowledge of this business, of this industry, no knowledge of fashion when I started this, no knowledge of style when I started this, no concept of how to run a live sale or how to do a party, like an in-home pop-up party. Like, none of that. I had no idea what I was doing. And still I found success. And I learned as I went, and I made tons of mistakes. I've made so many mistakes. So many mistakes. And so had so many moments where I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I think that was the right approach to this? But in all of those things, like, I've still found success. And so looking towards the future and what next year holds for me, I'm just blown away at the potential of what this year could look like for me, because I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I still have so much to learn. I feel like I still am like a baby, you know, like in my business, I'm still in the baby phase, and I'm still feeling my way through it and figuring out and trying things out and seeing what works and what doesn't. And when I do that, every little milestone, every little trial and error that I have is one more notch on that knowledge belt, right? Like, I have a little better understanding every time I try something and it doesn't work, or I try something and it does work. I have a little more knowledge, a little more understanding of what will help my business to succeed. And that's the coolest feeling. It's the coolest feeling, because at the end of the day, there's no perfect way to do this business. Every LuLaRoe retailer has their own personality and their own take on how to run their own business. And two retailers could do the exact same thing and get totally different results. And it's not because there's not a structure to it. So like, there are definitely things that you should or shouldn't do as a retailer that will either help your business to succeed or fail. But there's so much freedom in all of it to tweak and build and change and redirect. And it has so much to do with your personality and how you connect with your customers, and what kind of customers you want, and what kind of customers you have, and what expectations you set for them, and what kind of flow and rhythm you create for your business. I mean, there's so much freedom to really mold and shape it into what you want it to be. And I think in the beginning, I had this idea of like a box, and this is what this business should look like. And now it's like this whole world is opened up to me, because now, instead of being stuck in a box, I have this newfound freedom to completely flip the script and say, okay, well, like, I'm really wanting to get into the fundraising arena, and I really want to use my business to like help others and bless lives. Like, our company's motto is to like bless lives and strengthen families, and I really want to embrace that. And I've been for this past year focused on growing and understanding my own business, and now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, let's put this on it, like, let's flip this thing upside down on its head and like create this opportunity for others that are in need, where I can come in and use my business, use my platform to provide a service, provide money, provide like tangible help for people who are in need. And that's amazing. And I get to choose to do that. I get to make that choice. It's not even like, oh, well, I have to do this, or I have to do this, but I can't do this. It's like I get to make a choice on whether doing a bunch of fundraisers is what's best for my business, or whether maybe not doing fundraisers is what's best for my business. And there's not a wrong answer there. And I love that. I love that I have the freedom to choose. I love that I have the ability to create this brand and create this business that is right for me. I love that. Like, there's no better feeling than that. It's amazing. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you guys because I feel like I've had a lot of questions recently from people who are thinking about starting, becoming a LuLaRoe retailer. And those questions typically revolve around a couple of things lately. And it's changed. So like 6 months ago, the questions I would get had a lot to do with very specific, like, structure, right? Like dollar amounts, like how much are you making and how long did it take you to repay your initial investment? And those are still totally valid questions, right? But what I found is lately the questions have shifted a little bit to, I think more people are interested in this business now that are like business-minded people, which I think is amazing. So that doesn't mean you have to have owned your own business prior to becoming a retailer. But I think the people that are looking at this business now are seeing it as a long-term thing, not like a get rich fast thing, because it's not. You guys, like, it's not to say you can't make a lot of money in a short amount of time, because you absolutely can, which is amazing. I'd say I've made a lot of money in a short amount of time over this past year, and there are people that have made way more than me, just killing it in their businesses. So it's not to say that can't happen, but this business is like a real business. This is something that you get into and you invest into, not just money, you invest time into, energy into, thought process, creative thinking into, and you create a business that will take you long-term into the future. You create a customer base. You create a shopping experience for those customers. You create business hours and a feel to your business, an atmosphere that people are drawn to. This is not a, open up shop, do X, Y, and Z, and you'll see success type of thing. This allows people, this business, being a LuLaRoe retailer, really allows people to create a lifestyle for themselves that I never anticipated having the freedom to do before. So I love that, because I think lately what I've heard from a lot of people interested in becoming a retailer are questions like, how successful have you been? And not just like, what have you made dollar-wise, but like, do you feel like are you seeing your business grow? Are you seeing an increase? Do you feel like your customer base has grown? Do you feel like you have opportunities beyond just one platform? Whereas before it was like, everyone was like, I need to get online. Like, that's the platform. I need to be in Facebook. I need to be on Periscope. Like that one thing. And now it's more like people are kind of thinking outside the box more and thinking like, okay, well, I'm getting a lot of questions like, what are some of the ways that you sell aside from Facebook or aside from Periscope? I don't even sell on Periscope anymore because I've found other avenues that I enjoy doing. It's not that I don't enjoy selling on Periscope, but with Facebook Live, that kind of took over my live itch because I love to sell live. So I've been able to like branch out into other areas to sell my amazing clothes in. And so I've had a lot of questions about that and what that looks like for me. And I love that because I feel like people are really seeing this for what it is, which is a legitimate, amazing opportunity to start something that you see as a long-term experience for yourself. So I don't know if that's you. Is that you? If it is, we should totally have a conversation because whether you already are like in the queue and you're kind of like waiting for that day to get your call, or you're thinking about signing up and you're really anxious about what that might look like for you, I feel like the best thing, I feel like what I needed in the beginning, and not that I didn't get this necessarily, but I didn't even know to ask for it. So I feel like what I needed in the beginning was for somebody to sit down with me and say, okay, listen, you need to have realistic expectations, and then you also need to set some really awesome goals. And you have to understand and know how you're going to reach those goals. So instead of just having like a dream, right? Because dreams are amazing and we should all be dreamers. Like my team is called Dream Catchers. So I'm all about dreaming. Like I'm all about dreaming. But with dreams, you need to set goals in order to see those dreams come to fruition. And I wish that I had had somebody in the beginning to just sit down with me and say to me, like, hey, so you're starting this business and it's going to be work. Like it's a simple business, but it's hard work. And depending on how big you want it to grow, and for me, I wanted it to grow big. So if you want it to grow big, like you're going to have to set some goals, and you're going to have to understand the timeline to reach those goals. You're going to have to understand what kind of inventory levels you're going to need to reach those goals, what kind of a customer base you're going to need to be able to reach those goals. And those are things that I've figured out over the past year, and I would love to have that conversation with you. I'd love to help you just kind of figure out, like, okay, realistically, what's this going to look like? If you're somebody that's like, listen, I want to make $10,000. I want to see $10,000 in my bank account within my first month. We're probably not going to have a great interaction with each other. I'm not saying that like, I'm not going to like you, but you might not like me, because my response to that is probably going to be like, I don't necessarily think that's realistic, unless for whatever reason your circumstances provide the right atmosphere to make that happen. But for the majority, that's not what your business is going to look like the first month. Not to say you're not going to see a lot of success, but if you're coming with these expectations of like, I'm going to blow the lid off of this game, right? And like, I'm going to sell $100,000 worth of inventory in my first month, and I'm going to start out with 350 pieces of clothing in my inventory, then you're really not going to like what I have to say to kind of ground you and bring you back down to ground level with those expectations, right? But if you are somebody that's like, listen, like I see the potential in this. I love the clothes. I've seen other people be successful with this, and I feel like I kind of see what kind of personality is drawn to this, and I feel like I'm the right fit for this kind of business, and I really want to create something long-term for myself. If that's kind of where you're at, but you're just kind of curious about like, you know, like what is that going to look like, and what should my expectations be, so that you're getting into this with the right understanding and with the right goal setting opportunities. And if you need help in that area, I would love to have that conversation with you. I think there is nothing more motivating in life than being able to map out a plan. And again, the plan never goes exactly how you map it out, right? But when you have a mapped out plan that's like tangible, and you can look at it and say like, I have big goals, and big goals are awesome, and this is step by step how I'm going to reach those goals. And again, those things can change along the way, but when you have that road, like that roadmap to get you there, that's like such an encouraging feeling. It's such a great feeling to know like this is doable. Like this is actually a doable plan. Man, it's the coolest thing. And that's something I had never done in the past. So this past year, just learning how to even do that, how to look at my expectations and say, okay, is this really a realistic expectation? Or if not, so if I can't reach this goal that I have right now, if it's not feasible, so nothing's impossible, but if it's not feasible for me to reach this goal right now, what things do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to get me to reach that goal in the future? And how long do I think that's going to take based on the information I have at hand? Man, just learning how to go through that process has been invaluable to my business. And I'd love to kind of walk with you through that as well. So, man, I cannot believe it's been a year. I'm so excited for what this next year is going to bring. I cannot wait to see how what I've learned in the past year is going to feed into my growth in this next year. And it's like such an exciting time because LuLaRoe just turned 4 years old on the 1st of this month. So we are such a new baby company still. The company itself, our leaders, our owners have done amazing things over this past year to create just more and better platforms for us to work from. They've created such an amazing process for us to go through as retailers. They've given us so much support and so much information and so much training to help us be successful. And that's just continuing to grow as well. So seeing that and knowing what I've learned over this past year, Man, I am so excited for this next year. I would so love to have you be a part of that as well. And if that means you're on my team, awesome. If that means you're on someone else's team, awesome. I would just love to hear your story. I'd love to chat with you. I would definitely love to help you kind of figure out some missing links in your thought process if you're thinking about signing up to become a retailer. And I'm telling you, like, it's an exciting time. So anyways, I can't wait to see what the year has in store for me. I would love to see what this year has in store for you. And I also just love getting to share my experience with you guys. So if you're watching this, just thank you. It's been really cool to get to kind of like meet so many like-minded people through these YouTube videos. I've gotten to hear from so many of you, some of you that are already retailers, some of you that own totally different businesses, some of you that are thinking about becoming retailers, and just to hear from women who are like-minded, who are entrepreneurial in their thought processes, who have dreams and goals and ambitions to go beyond where they are right now, has been, man, so encouraging and uplifting to me. So thank you guys for that. Thank you for making this year so awesome for me. Man, I can't wait to share more with you as this year goes on. And in the meantime, I definitely plan to make another video soon. But I did just want to like pop on here and share that thought with you guys. And hopefully something that I said sparked an interest with you, or got you a little motivated about whatever it is you're pursuing in life right now. I love you guys so much. I hope you have an awesome day. I've had a great day so far, and I'm gonna go have an even better day. I've got a lot of stuff to get done still. So we will talk again real soon. Have a wonderful day. I love you. Mwah!